the pandemic has brought digital, to the forefront like never before. One of the points that, that we've observed that I often say is that it's been like we've been sitting inside of a time machine and you've actually woken up 5 years hence. And that's been the kind of change we've seen in the country when it comes to, the growth of India's digital ecosystem in the last 9 to 12 months. So if not for the pandemic, the kind of change we might have seen over a 5-year horizon is what we've actually seen in the last 9 to 12 months, which has been very interesting. And it's been a roller coaster journey. And as I said, the consistent point of feedback that I am often asked across all of my interactions with various startups and SMEs and business owners is, all of this is fine, concepts are fine, but help me understand for my business, how do I prioritize things? Keep it contextual for my business. What I'm going to do over the next few minutes is give you a simple rule of thumb or some framework using which you can make a decision of which digital marketing channel you need to prioritize for your business. Obviously, you need to do a combination of efforts across channels. It's not just efforts on one channel which will give you benefits. But if you are a small business owner today, you're not Amazon, you're not Flipkart, we don't have infinite resources. We have finite resources, finite people resources, finite financial resources, and a limited amount of time. So you need to have a very clear sense of what is your number one priority. What is your P0 priority? You need that clarity of thought. And that's something which we will try and understand how you can go about identifying. The first question you ask yourself, let's say Kedar runs a business. He sells, say, lehengas online, for example, or he sells kurtis online, or let's say he conducts online mental wellness classes. It could be anything. When Kedar wants to know, when Kedar is telling me, Veda, all of this gyan is fine, but tell me for my business, how do I know what digital marketing channel I need to prioritize? Which is a fair question, right? So in an attempt to answer this question, what Kedar needs to do is to start off with another question. He needs to ask himself, the space that I am operating in, the category that I am operating in, is that mass or is that niche? That's the first question he needs to ask himself. Now, there are two ways in which Kedar can figure out an answer to this question. The first one is Kedar as an entrepreneur has this gut-based instinct and this understanding of the market. He feels that he sells t-shirts online and probably mass. I sell mental wellness classes online and probably niche. I sell Gujarati thalis online, probably mass. I sell it in Ahmedabad. I do something else online and I'm probably niche. I sell, Android programming classes online, I'm probably niche. That is one way, right? He has this gut-based subjective instinct. Now he needs a way to validate this with some kind of data-backed objective method for figuring out an answer to this question. And that's where the power of tech comes in. All Kedar has to do is to open up a platform which Google provides called as Google AdWords, right? Within which there is this tool called as the Google Keyword Planner. Open that tool up and figure out how many people are actually searching for keywords related to the category that he is operating in. Let's say Kedar wants to sell t-shirts online. He opens up the Google Keyword Planner tool and searches for how many people are actually searching for t-shirts online on the Keyword Planner, right? And for his target market, which in this case I'm assuming is India. So and this is not a perfect science, but what you can assume is that for a target market which has the kind of internet population size of India, this is not a perfect science, but you can assume this. If the monthly search volumes are in excess of 20,000 searches a month or greater than 20,000 searches a month, you can assume that the space you're operating in to be fairly mass. If it's less than that, you can assume it to be niche. Now, what do you do if you're mass? And what do you do if you're niche? Before we do that, I'm assuming that most of you here are aware of all of these terminologies. Facebook and LinkedIn advertising, I'm sure most of you would be aware of. SEM and SEO, I'm sure you're aware of as well. But let me spend 30 seconds in giving you a quick crash course and setting some quick context on what these terms mean. Yeah. Let's say Kedar is looking to plan a holiday in Kashmir, for example. He searches for resorts in Kashmir. Now, whenever anybody searches for something on Google, what happens is a real-time virtual auction occurs, right? Very similar to an auction in a real world, right? You have various people bidding various rates for buying that particular phone. In this particular case, you have various advertisers who are bidding rates for that particular keyword for them to serve their ad in the top placement, in the first placement. In this case, let's say Booking.com has bid for this particular keyword, which is resorts in Kashmir, $500. Make My Trip, let's say, has bid, say, $200. Now, given in this particular case, for the most part, whose ad comes up on top is determined by whoever bids the highest. In this case, given that Booking.com has bid the highest, their ad would come up on top. So Kedar would see a bunch of listings which have the ad tag listed against them, right? There would be a Booking.com first, followed by maybe a Make My Trip ad, etc. Now, if Kedar were to click on the Booking.com ad, Booking.com would be charged $500 by Google. This is called CPC or cost per click advertising. Now, all the efforts that Kedar and his marketing team undertake to make sure that relevant ads keep coming up on top for relevant user search queries, all of the efforts that you as an entrepreneur undertake to make sure that your relevant ads come up for relevant user search queries is referred to as SEM, search engine marketing, right? And this is paid traffic, right? If anybody were to click on one of these ads, you as an advertiser, you get charged money by Google. The consumer doesn't get charged. The advertiser gets charged. Now, if Kedar were to scroll a little further down on the same page, he would see a bunch of organic listings or listings which do not have the tag ad listed against them. Now, these are based purely on merit. Nothing to do with who is bidding the highest, who has the more money. This is purely based on Google's organic search ranking algorithm. There is an algorithm that Google has, which is an organic search ranking algorithm, whose job is to figure out which landing page, which website's content is the most relevant. It has the freshest content, which is updated very frequently, has the best user experience, which is the one that has the maximum number of authoritative backlinks from other third-party sites. Based on a lot of different parameters such as this, Google bumps up the ranking for a lot of these websites and landing pages. Now, all of the efforts that you as a marketer undertake to make sure that your website, your landing pages content is relevant, freshest, best user experience, etc., to make sure that you can increase your organic search rankings is referred to as SEO, search engine optimization. Now, if Kedar were to click on any of these links, the brand would not be charged any money. This is SEO. Now, just to stress on the importance of SEO and the kind of scalable businesses that can be built just by focusing on SEO, I want to take a couple of examples. Not sure how many of you have heard of this term, Trilophilia. It used to be a fairly popular, and it still is, fairly popular travel tech company. And in India, at least pre-COVID, travel was an extremely competitive space. You had a lot of multinational companies, global biggies, Booking.com, IBBO Group, etc., right, who are competing in India, very deep pockets. Plus, you also had a lot of homegrown, deep-pocketed players, right? ClearTrip, Make My Trip, Oyo, all of these guys, Stazilla, and so on. And all of them were heavily funded, venture capital funded. Now, Trilophilia was a company which was completely bootstrapped. They had not raised $1 in VC funding. But this company used to beat everybody else when it came to SEO, because SEO was literally the only thing they did. They didn't have money to spend on marketing. They didn't have VC funding to spend on marketing. They did only SEO, and they did a fantastic job of SEO. And they used to beat everybody, Booking.com, Make My Trip, Oyo, ClearTrip, everybody, when it came to SEO rankings, because they did such a fantastic job. Their content was most relevant, freshest, backlinks from authoritative sources, user experience was great, mobile optimized. So they always used to outrank everybody else. Another example of the power of SEO is this company called Practo. I'm sure a lot of you would have heard of Practo, right? It's India's largest online doctor marketplace. Practo gets around 25 to 30 million hits a month. That's the kind of monthly traffic volumes that they get. Almost 90% of that is actually through SEO. It's completely organic, which means it's completely free. They don't pay $1. They don't pay a rupee for 90% of their traffic. Their SEO is so good that, let's say, Kedar is a very popular gynecologist from, say, Ahmedabad, and Kedar has his own website as well, right? And he's a very popular gynecologist. Let's say I search for Dr. Kedar in Ahmedabad on Google. Let's say Kedar is also listed on Practo. He has his own listing page on Practo. Practo has done such a fantastic job of SEO that Kedar's listing on Practo will come up higher than Kedar's own website listing if I'm searching for Dr. Kedar, right? And that gives you a sense of such a, how good a job they've done from an SEO perspective. And I might end up booking an appointment with Dr. Kedar via Practo, and Kedar would need to have a revenue share with Practo instead of getting all of the revenue for himself. And essentially, I just wanted to mention both of these examples to give you a sense of the kind of crucial role that SEO plays if you are building a very strong digital business. Now, coming back to our framework itself, now Kedar has figured out that the space that you're operating in is mass. The monthly search volumes within the Google AdWords platform. Google AdWords is the platform provided by Google for you to manage all of your search engine marketing ads, SEM advertisements. Within that, there is another tool called the Keyword Planner. So Kedar has gone to Keyword Planner. He's figured out that the monthly search volumes for the core keywords, sell t-shirts online, let's say if that is the space that you're operating in, is more than 20,000 searches a month. So he's figured out that he's in a mass space. What does he do then? So if you're mass, it means that you've already got a lot of existing user behavior patterns on Google, right? You need to make Google your number one priority. It's commonsensical, right? You need to be where your customers are. There are already enough volumes of people searching for core keywords related to your category. It just makes logical sense for you to be where your customers are, because people are actually searching for those keywords on Google. Now, not all of us can be an Amazon or a Flipkart. We may not be able to create new user behaviors or change existing user behavior patterns. But what we can very well do is piggyback and ride the wave on existing user behavior patterns which are already out there on Google. So that's what Kedar would do if he's an entrepreneur, because he knows that he operates in a mass space. There is already a lot of search volume on Google. So it makes sense for him to put his advertisements, his SEM efforts, his SEO links right, is organic links at that particular user's moment of truth when people are actually searching for keywords related to his category and business. That's the first thing. Now, what happens if you're not that lucky? You're not mass. You're probably operating in a niche space. What happens? You don't directly run into Facebook's arms. You ask yourself an additional question. I'm niche, yes, but am I high on personal connect? And do I have the opportunity to strike a very strong level of empathy with my end customer? And can I inject a very strong visual element in my communication? If so, you make Facebook your number one priority.